Hello, my name's Elsie Anakoy. I'm a parenting coach and a solicitor. I'm going to be talking about pornography. I'm going to start off talking about where parents or carers are concerned that their child may be accessing pornographic material or displaying behaviour which suggests that they have accessed pornographic material, that they are likely to access pornographic material. As we know, before the invention of the internet, usually children who were curious about pornography or sexual terms or sexual activity may ask friends or even older siblings. Nowadays, it's so much easier by the push of a button for them to go on the internet searching for various material. They can use Google, other search engine, looking for terms. Some terms or phrases may not actually appear alarming or concerning, but in the process of searching, they may stumble across what they're not supposed to, like pornographic material. So how do you now deal with it? How do you deal with a situation where you believe this is happening or this has actually happened? The first step, I think, in fact, before I start, I think it's best to say that there isn't a one-size-fits-all rule, but it's just a few suggestions that I'm going to be discussing. So one of them is obviously speaking with your child, finding out why they have been accessing the material. It's very important that you remain calm. I know it's easier said than done, but as we know, with things like this involving children, the calmer you are, the higher the likelihood of you actually getting information from your child. So obviously, even if you're asking questions, be careful how you're asking questions. Don't make them feel that they're being interrogated and not feeling at ease. So, ask questions. Again, depending on the age of the child, depending on the maturity of the child, you have to decide how much information you want to share with your child. Because obviously, don't feel obliged that you must, tell them a lot, particularly if they're very young. They don't really need to know. Unless, of course, you feel that their level of understanding, despite being young, is quite high. That, it's a judgment call really for you. Right, so, speak to the child, find out why they're accessing the material. If they have questions, listen to them, try to answer the questions as much as you can, and also find out, the reason behind it, and most especially if there could be something going on in the background. Could there be a possibility of grooming or child sexual exploitation? Hopefully there isn't. Hopefully it's just a case of the child being curious, just a case of the child having had discussions with friends or even siblings at home, or maybe they've seen other people doing it and they wanted to try it out. And in some cases as well, a child may have stumbled across the material innocently. So, you need to be aware of that. If it's a case of, them not looking for it and they've stumbled across it, again, you have to be sensitive. You have to know how to deal with it. You don't need to start, explaining everything. But obviously, if it's a case of where they have actually gone and they've accessed it themselves, then you need to have the talk with them. You need to also explain the impact of pornography on their life long term. There is a possibility that they could become desensitized with pornography if they're watching it on a regular basis, and as a result they'll start displaying sexualized behavior which no one wants, and it could be towards siblings, towards friends. So it's very important to speak to them and to try and deter them from continuing with such activity as well. And again, with children, seeing unfamiliar looking bodies and faces engaging in such acts can be confusing and frightening as well. So again, you have to, your child, if it's if the child is extremely sensitive, you have to know, you'll know how best to communicate with them and to deal with their confusion, their questions, and so on. And again, they could even get confused into thinking that they're liking what they're seeing, and no one wants that at such a young age as well. So it's about communicating with the child, and as adults as well, we need to be vigilant. If if you're someone who watches pornography because you don't want your children having access to it, if you have pornographic material by way of magazines, etc., keep it away from children. If you're accessing it on computer, make sure it's not a computer that the children can get hold of, or on your phone that children can get hold of. Clear browsers, to make sure that they don't stumble across it. So these are just a few tips that I thought I'd share with you in terms of dealing with pornography. And again, in the UK, I'm not going to go into it a lot, but the where someone gains pornographic material, in certain cases it can be illegal. So again, it's very important that we are parents and carers are extremely careful about what they do. And then finally, I'm just going to cover just quickly about internet safety. If you're buying phones or you're buying computers for the first time, for instance, speak to the shop where you're buying it from. Ask them about the best safety devices to use, what apps or what you can do to make sure that your children don't access easily. They're not they're not able to access information that you wouldn't want them to access easily as well. And the same with like mobile phones and other gadgets. So you could speak to network providers, speak to sales assistants at the shop about what you can do to ensure that you have good security devices on the gadgets that you have at home. Another thing as well for younger children is, if you have computers at home that everyone uses, is to make sure that it's placed in an area where members of the family can easily see what the children are doing when they're on the computer, and you can see what websites they're able to access. Well, that's it for me. If you have any questions, do contact me. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel, and do like the videos as well. And that's it. Also, yes, you can join us on Facebook, the Anakwe Way. And that's it from me. Then I will say goodbye and thank you for watching.